Is your business wasting time and talent and money on problems that it could have solved yesterday? On this episode with Profit with Plan, innovation legend Doug Hall joins me to expose the silent killers of productivity. That's inefficiencies, disengagement, and outdated thinking, and how to stop the stupid once and for all. We're diving into world-class companies, how world-class companies are empowering frontline teammates, managers, and leaders to think smarter, move faster, and solve problems before they become costly mistakes. So if you're ready to create the culture that everyone is innovating and taking action, this is the conversation for your roadmap. Entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help you scale smarter, increase profitability, and build a business that's worth more, whether you keep it or sell it. I'm Marcia, Riner, business growth strategist and profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to turn their businesses into highly profitable and sale-ready assets. So if you enjoy more income now and a bigger payout later on. So join me for practical strategies, expert insights, and proven steps to make your business more profitable, more valuable, and built to last. Today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. But before we dive in, I've got something special for you. And if you're feeling like you're doing everything right, but you're not seeing the results you want, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. In just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth for your business. If you're ready to make an impact, visit profitbooster.biz and get started. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Our guest today is Doug Hall. Doug is a pioneering engineer, innovation research. My mouth can't work today, I apologize. And the best-selling author dedicated to empowering people with skills and confidence to create and take action on breakthrough ideas. With a career spanning over 40 years, Doug and his Eureka Ranch team has helped companies like Walt Disney, Nike, Procter & Gamble, AT&T, and American Express transform their approach to innovation. In his latest book, Proactive Problem Solving, he provides a proven system for creating a culture of proactive problem solving across employees, managers, leadership, to eliminate inefficiencies and generate smarter ways of working. Well, thank you, Doug, for suffering through my introduction for you. My mouth is all twist-tied today, but welcome to Profit with a Plan. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Okay, so, I always like to think when someone says they're an inventor, an innovator, and they're doing all these things, what triggered that? Were you a kid taking things apart and trying to put them back together again?
I was. I just liked creating things. At the age of 12, I invented a learn to juggle kit and talked the mall, the Almy store in Nashua, New Hampshire, into allowing me to go. And I sold juggling kits.
Oh, that's fantastic.
To get into this, and it just became a thing that I loved the idea of creating new things. And so then after a chemical engineering degree, I went into advertising at Procter & Gamble, a very weird connection, but a brilliant one for inventing, because inventing is about understanding the customer and the product. And that cross-training was invaluable. And I created the Eureka Ranch that we got going, where we were the big idea people. We were the people, and we still do it, but creating the big ideas for some, as you mentioned, some of the biggest names in the world. And I've hosted TV shows, I mean, you name it.
Wow, that's impressive.
And then a few years ago, I had always loved, because when you're an inventor, you work on things you love. And one of the things I love is whiskey.
Ooh.
So I got involved, and for the last 30 years, I've worked with Diageo and the Macallan and worked on a lot of big brands. I mean, I took Macallan from $35 a bottle to over $100 a bottle, okay? So amazing stuff, 1,700% growth and all these things. And so I finally decided, what if I started my own whiskey company? And so I created a company focused on the wood because wood's where 70% of the flavor comes from. And then it was successful. And as many of your listeners know, growth can sometimes kill small companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started out and we're selling, maybe a couple hundred cases a week, and then it's thousands. And next thing you know, we're doing 100,000 cases a year.
Holy
And
cow.
and it's like, wait a minute, I'm the idea guy. What the heck's going on here?
Well, how can you keep up with production too?
Oh, it was a
It
mess
takes
because
time.
the systems that work when you're selling 5,000 cases don't work at 20,000 and 30,000. And so you need to improve your systems. Well, when you're doubling in sales every, 2 to 3 months,
Oh my goodness.
okay, um, it was a recipe for disaster. Okay. And then you had that thing, you might have heard of it called COVID that happened. And so, how do you keep doing it during COVID when everybody wanted their whiskey?
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I realized that though my life had been focused on inventing the big idea, what the problem was is we had big ideas, but we couldn't make them happen.
Ah,
And so I said, well, it's hard to get employees. We got to take the ones we've got and we've got to get maximum ROI from every single person that works for the company. And so I said, hey, dweeb, you're supposed to be smart and innovative. And if you can invent big ideas, can you invent a way to get employee engagement so that when they see something, they say something? When there's a problem and a frustration, they're speaking up. They're proactive. That's the key.
mm,
Proactive and not just bitching, but proactive problem solvers so that they not only come up with it, but you give them a system for how to do it, okay,
love it.
and how to fix, and you make a culture. And so it was just out of survival.
Mm.
This whole book and the proactive problem solving course that we teach, the 1-day program that we'll do for folks. And by the way, for the listeners of this podcast, if you want, I will come at half the regular price during the book introduction time through this year. I did this before with one of my other books, and it sent me to, I don't know, 35 states is what it did
Wow.
in about 20 countries.
Book tour.
But if you call, I will come myself personally and do it, and we'll have a good time. I'll bring some bourbon if you want to, so you can do that. But so basically, it was out of necessity. I had a big problem. I could not whine about these young people. I couldn't
Mm,
whine about the stuff going on. They had to be part of the solution because there were no other choices.
right.
And then I literally became in love with this concept because I saw a guy who had, long hair down to his butt, tattoos, played in a music band, which I still don't really even understand the music when
Oh
it
no.
played. I mean, really out there. And we had a new bottling machine, and we had a partner that had paid for it. The engineers worked on it for 9 months. It still didn't work. I
Mm.
said, Kanan, you're going to be the project leader. I'm going to teach you how to fix this machine. He says, I don't know anything about engineering. I said, the engineers don't seem to know much about it either. And literally within a month, he took that machine from breaking down like 20, 30 times an hour,
Mm,
which required them to climb up and pull stuff out, to running almost flawlessly. And he
wow.
said, I wouldn't, and the pride that he had, and not only the pride, but he's good because he's living that machine. He can feel the machine. Your
Mm,
people on the front line, whether they be salespeople, IT people, finance people, they know what I call the stupid stuff. And I cut to the chase. This is not highfalutin stuff. I'm here to help you stop the stupid. The way you get employees engaged is you start out by teaching them how to be proactive problem solvers by what
mm.
are the stupid things in your life that are causing you problems. Let's
Yep.
make those go away. And with those wins, they go, I guess I can do this stuff. And then you create a power source, a power
Wow.
source. And as a CEO of a small company, it is game changing when you know the people, when they see something, and now everything doesn't come to me. In the beginning, me and Joe Gergash, my co-founder, we were doing everything.
You were the bottleneck.
And it was just, it's stupid. How do you go on vacation? How do you do anything else? If you don't have systems, and to your point, if they want to sell, if it's them, they're going to take the price and they're going to slash it.
Yep.
Can the company run without you is your key. And all of my companies have always been run. How can this company run to put me not necessary?
That's
And
it.
systems thinking and engagement of frontline employees is where it starts.
Love it.
Then the managers, and then leadership.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry,
So
I am kind of a little excited about this.
I can see that, and that's amazing though. It's something to truly be excited about because this is how companies change and really develop from that solopreneur or original idea to the phase like getting what got you to here won't get you to there, but that moment that you're talking about is really that second step of business ownership, which is empowering the team to do what they need to do so that they can help you grow the company rather than just, screwing the screw in or banging the hammer, right? They're doing things because they're now empowered to, like you said, make those decisions as best they could. And if I love the way that you put all this together, and it's absolutely a perfect reason to be excited for. But before I forget, my goodness, tell me what's the name of the whiskey?
Yeah, we have two. We have one that's out around the country, which is called Noble Oak, and another one is called Dexter.
Okay.
And Dexter is, in fact, I can show you here. Here's the Dexter bottle. Here it is. And
Ooh.
it has been named one of the 12 best bourbons in the world. And it has 95 points, and we sell it for $49.95. So we could sell it for twice that.
Of course you could.
And we're in about 15, 20 states. And so it's just kind of fun.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that because that's amazing that you exploded over that time. At that same time, 2020 ish, probably about 2018 ish, I started experimenting with bourbon. So, yum, I'll have to go look for that one. But thank you. Sorry to take us off track,
You
but you
mentioned
started
growth.
it.
You mentioned growth, and you understand this because companies get to a certain level,
Yes.
and that's
And they
just,
have a whole new set of problems.
I just about an hour from here, there's a company that I'm at the point now where there's people that run the companies and they're really good. They give me ones where these are people that want to change.
Absolutely.
And they really are engaged, and I just have fun. And it's about an hour from here in Cincinnati where I am. And I just got back from them just before this. And we were going through their systems. It's because we were working to take it up another notch. This company was doing, no, they had sales leads in the $5 to $10 million in their sales pipeline.
Okay.
Today they have $50 million in their pipeline. Okay?
Wow, that's a 10x.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so I was sitting there and we were talking about it because what happened is the owner said, for us to win, we're a little company at that time. But for us to win, we need to get into big companies. Now big companies could be medium sized or multinationals.
Bigger.
Much bigger companies. And because then we'll sell more. And he said, we've got to get to them, and because we've got a product that we think can do it. And it is unbelievable, the transformation. I mean, they literally have transformed the company, transformed the size, and they're on track to double it again. And what I was doing was we were sitting there because I had started about a year ago. Their marketing, he said, we got to get leads for better, more profitable customers.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, and that's what he said. He said, it's fine to work with these people. They're fine. And the people we work with are fine. And the people we in our database are fine, but that's our same people. We need new people who will pay more.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's a reasonable request because the same amount of work that yields you X, the same amount of work in a bigger company or more a better company could yield you 10x, right? And it's the same amount of work and effort.
And they had gone through 4 heads of marketing in 5 years. Okay. So when I came in, I said, I'm working on systems to change the culture, to get everybody engaged. But he said, the CEO said, marketing is a problem. If we
Top of the
don't
funnel.
get better quality leads at the start of the process, nothing else is going to make a difference. He said, your
Exactly.
first priority is to work with these people. So I was sitting with the head of marketing today, and we were going through it, and they've seen success. And he says, Doug, he says, it's unbelievable, the transformation. We have, by using the things in proactive problem solving, and they've all gone through training, he says, we are moving better, but he says, I feel like we can be 2 or 3 times better than we are.
Ooh.
And so the morning, it was so amazing talking there about how do we take this, put in things like, you'll be familiar, division of labor. Instead of one marketing person doing everything, who's the one that's doing content? Who's managing online? Who's doing the lead and the prioritization of leads? What are
And
our...
are they all speaking the same language, right?
No, of course they're not. They can't even understand each other. The
This
sales
guy's saying
complains
that, that
about
guy's saying
marketing.
that, and
Marketing
then
complains about sales. Sales isn't doing it. And I said, enough of this. No more believing. As Deming taught, 94% of the problem's the system, 6% is the worker. And in proactive problem solving, what I did is I laid out a system for them to improve the system.
Oh,
Because
good.
the people close to the work are the ones who know the flaws in the existing system, the stupid stuff.
Exactly.
And so we teach them to identify the problems, come up with the solutions, and then with low risk, try new things. Try things that are enough of a change to your system that there's risk. If there isn't risk, if it's a no-brainer to change it, that's just do it. And that ain't going to change things. It's only by changing your system dramatically that you're going to get a dramatically different result. Working harder doesn't work.
Oh, thank you for saying that. My goodness. Yes. So let me ask you something, because this is exciting and it's brilliant. And some people are like, duh, and the others are like, well, how would you teach someone to understand the decisions that you would like them to make, right?
Right. Yeah. So the process begins with whether it's their team leader or the department head or the CEO or the owner, whatever it is. And they set what the military calls commander's intent. They set the what and the why.
I love it.
And the most important word is the second word, the why.
The why.
Telling people, I want you to sell 20% more is going to have no impact and will not work. And you know it, we all know it, and it's just ridiculous. That's not helpful. That is not leading. Okay, that's counting. That's not leading. Leading is saying, I think we need to take this hill. This is what we need to do. We need to focus on this type of customer, or we need to work on our efficiency because our yields are low, or we've just got tariffs. We got to figure out how to change our supply chain. I mean, I don't care what it is, but what is the things that matter? Or in a work team, this company I was talking about, they make cleaning equipment. They had teams that were making 5 or 6 units a day, assembling them. Now they do 40 a day. Game changer. Game changer. And that was a problem. And so we look at very important problems and we say what the problem is. But here's the key to motivating today's workers. And I don't care what generation you are. There's incompetence and brilliance in all generations.
Yep.
Okay. And so the key is you got to explain why. Why does it matter?
Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead-generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com.
Why does that matter? It's not obvious to people. And why needs to be given to them in a way that matters to them. So the first project I tell people to work, if you're a team leader, is I want them, your project, your blue card, we call it, the what and why, is what we want to do is to stop the stupid stuff that gets in the way of you doing your job and having pride in your work. Very simple. And they know them immediately. And so we're going to focus on that first. And why we're going to do this is because in the process, you're going to learn, we're going to give you some tools, and we're going to teach you how to create ideas, and then to problem solve them, and then how to, at low risk, try some experiments. We call it fail fast, fail cheap, or plan, do, study, act. How are you going to do that? And you create the ideas by learning more with stimulus and diversity. And there's a process that we take you through in proactive problem solving to do that. And in doing that, we get you engaged so that then we can work on bigger stuff. And that what and why is so important. And by doing things that are stupid, you're giving a benefit to me, the worker.
Mm.
The lady whose back hurt, I said, what's stupid? She says, my back hurts because I have to lift the equipment into a box. The solution became build the box around the equipment and don't lift it. Vaporized. Her back doesn't hurt. You know how much she's motivated right now?
Yes.
She is like the biggest mouthpiece. She's doing more selling of engagement. Why should I do this proactive problem solving? Because my back didn't hurt, damn it. And she's rough and she's straight, you know? And
I
that's
love
what
it.
you need to do. I mean, I know people listening to this, they're saying, Doug, what you're saying is obvious. I know.
No, but it isn't obvious. It really isn't obvious, or more people would be doing it. It's like we could always say our vision, our vision is 2020 when we can look in the mirror and see everything. But when we're looking forward, we can't get through the trees oftentimes to see that it's a simple change. And I think the biggest fear that I'm hearing from my companies out there is the workforce doesn't want to change, right? Because they think it's going to mess it up for them. It's going to be harder for them. Oh, they're going to have to learn this new system. But as you have stated so brilliantly, that if you engage them with the here's what I would like you to do, here's why I'd like you to do it. Now I'd like you to find out a way to do it better, right?
Yeah.
Then you're getting the buy-in and engagement, and they're going, wow, this isn't going to be a headache. This is actually going to make my life better and easier. And so now I'm more comfortable with the potential of that big C change word that comes out.
You know, you get a big change, marketplace, things going on, and you go to them and I got this type of thing. The problem is it's so far out of their sphere of influence, they can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can scream all you want, but that's not going to happen. Instead, what we've got to do is we got to build their confidence and capability. We get them the book, get them proactive problem solving, take them through the one-day workshop, get them started, and then give them the confidence by starting on something that's within the sphere of influence of that team. Say it's the
Yes, of
packaging
course.
team, say it's the marketing team or the IT team. Let them get a win.
Yeah.
How do you know, if I was saying you wanted to run a marathon and I said, okay, let's go run one, that's not going to work. But if we say we're going to start with this and you're going to have training and a coach, and that's why, interesting story. So I created this concept for the employees, for the frontline, because I figured that's hard. And that's why even the proactive problem solving book is 50,000 words, not 150,000 like my others.
Short and sweet.
It was specifically set, and it was so much harder to write to make it that clear for people. But get the win with them. We're ready to do it. We brought Eureka Ranch clients in. They went through the prototype and they said, brilliant. This is the problem. You are addressing the issue. It's great. And if you ship it, we will kill you. I said, what's the matter? They said, you've got to have a program for their managers. You cannot unleash the employees unless you have a way to teach the managers how to manage a proactive employee, or else they'll kill it.
Yeah.
And then they said, and at the same time, make sure you have at least something you can do for the leadership so that leadership doesn't inadvertently subvert it, so that they can be supportive. And
so it sounds like it's a reform from the bottom up, but you've still got to have everybody on board. Absolutely.
You got to have the top down and the bottom up. You got to have them there. And I tell them, especially, you know, in organizations that are a little bit bigger, I say, let's take, what's your worst product, your worst department, what's your biggest problem? Like the company I was talking about, marketing, what's their problem? Let's start there with a prototype and see what happens. You know, and that team becomes an experiment. And then you learn, and then you build the confidence. I'm telling you folks, we can transform your culture and make it such that you love your company more than anything else in the world. I know right now it is tough. It is really hard. I own 2 companies. Bourbon industry after the boom has gone bust with all of the cannabis and alcohol-free January and all dry January and all of this stuff. It's tough right now. But we're winning because we have 100% alignment and 100% proactive problem solvers in the companies.
And that, I think that's your biggest asset, business owners. When you look at your company as a whole, your biggest asset isn't the product or the machinery or the building you do it in or your accounts receivable. It's the people that help you move the product, that are customer facing or back office dealing, that actually help you lift the boulder and push it up the hill, because you can't do it alone. You need these people. And if you can empower your people to
And,
start
and you
making really good decisions.
and you're so right. And I would and like they do with improv, and I
And
think it's also, you need to understand that to win in business, you need never-ending continuous improvement.
yes,
The reason the employees need to be engaged is so that you can have never-ending continuous improvement in accounting, in billing, in shipping, in sales, in marketing, in lead generation. You've got to get everybody continuing improvement, because if you're not changing, you're dying.
you're dying, you're being left behind.
That's right.
Yep. Ah, this is so valuable, Doug. Okay, so we've talked about the reason we're doing this, right? And the incredibly valuable benefit that the company gains, that the employees' morale gain by being proactive
Proactive.
and thinking through these
Right.
problems, right? Where could we see, like you mentioned, you've given us some results that this company 10x'd in a year, and this company is expecting to do more. How do we start to, innovate this in our own business without, you know, flipping ourselves upside down? Is it just as simple as reading a book and taking a course?
I think the first thing to do is you've got to know more. You've got
Got to
to
be
know more.
curious, right?
Education, education, education. I mean, I have taken, I did a talk once over in Europe. This lady kept bugging me to do a talk, and I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. She says, no, I want you to do a very specific talk. I want you to do decades. I want you to do how you've reinvented yourself every 10 years. I said, I haven't done that. She says, no, think about it. I've known you for a while. So I put together this talk of how I reinvented the company every 10 years. And I'm not talking about a little shift. I'm talking about big shifts. And that really is the dynamic that you need to do. But each time I did it, I had to learn more. You have to
Yep.
go back, and that's a problem sometimes. Older people, I mean, I'm on my way to 70, so I'm old, but older people in particular tend to stop wanting to go back to being a beginner.
Mm.
But the learner's mind at the start. I mean, I'm working on right now for the ranch, for the Eureka Ranch, a whole process, a whole next generation thing. Because now I've got a point where I build the next.
Yeah. Well, that's the energy of an entrepreneur, right?
And I'm
They,
learning.
they have to go fix things.
I'm going to the basics. I'm talking to people. I'm asking stupid questions because I don't understand. And I want to learn these things. And it did it. Maybe it comes from my grandmother. At 88, she took a computer class because she didn't know much about this, and she didn't want it to go past her. So
Oh,
it's a
love it.
family trait. But I am having so much fun learning as I do it. In fact, writing proactive problem solving was so different than anything else I'd done, and it was infused. Bizarrely, I had been asked during COVID to write a chapter for the American Psychological Association, the first chapter ever in the Handbook of Consumer Behavior, on the psychology of innovation.
Mm.
I said, I don't know anything about it. And the editor of the book said, nobody else does either. He says,
Go
but
figure
you
it out.
get it. I've seen you work. I know you understand the psychology. I'll teach you the words. And so it was 3 years of review. And that is what got in Proactive Problem Solving, the book, is the idea of stop the stupid, giving it to them, their circle of innovation. That's the psychology. That's how to implement. Because one of the things that frustrates me is people that preach but don't practice.
Ah,
I'm sitting in my library here, and I've got all these books, of which a whole bunch of them have, because I've written 8 books, and I have versions of stuff I've written in them by people that have never done it. And that drives me crazy, because if you haven't lived it, breathed it, touched it, you can't teach it.
yep.
Sorry.
No,
And
I
so,
agree. And coming from a lifelong learner myself, I couldn't imagine. And I think it keeps me young too, because I'm not going to throw my years out there, but I think it keeps you young because your brain it's a muscle that needs to figure things out. And the worst thing you can do is have a mindless employee that's sitting on your front lines or even in middle management or leading a team that isn't thinking and creating and building and learning new things on a regular basis that can help improve processes. I mean,
what's interesting is at the ranch, Maggie Nichols, who runs the ranch for me now, her personnel review is not how much you sold, how much this, what contributions, what systems have you helped improve?
yeah,
Because if you're improving the systems and the system, the direction we've given you from leadership for the strategic intent and what you're trying to do is right, then it should work.
of course.
If it doesn't, then that's leadership's fault. But if they are improving, if we are never ending improving, then we'll be fine. But if
And
you
I love
don't,
that we're
you're gonna die.
empowering. I love that we're empowering because, here you talked about the generations, right? That any generation, this can apply to any generation. But the younger generations, they may not necessarily, first of all, they don't like to be just told to do it because I'm telling you and I'm giving you a paycheck. They want to feel like they're contributing and putting in. And what better way to engage and empower the employee where you're going to have a longer employee, a better employee that earns their keep, right? Than to empower them with this. This
So
is
let me
great.
give you a fact, because some people watching or listening to this, my soul is with you, and it's absolutely this. But let me give you for that most hard-nosed accounting, engineer, left brain type, let me give you some facts about how much you're wasting right now with the opportunity. If you just get the book, Proactive Problem Solving, read it or have me come out and do it, whatever, I don't care what you do. But if you want, we did a study and we asked managers how much time they spend on various things. And we found that the average manager wastes 3.5 hours a day on employee mistakes and broken systems,
Yep.
whether it's poor SOPs, whether it's communications, whether it's bureaucracy, IT issues, whatever it might be. But we have to do workarounds and all this junk. 3.5 hours a day. Okay. And I saw the research and it came in, and the Eureka Ranch, we've got some amazing people that do incredible original research. And I went to Greg when he showed me today. I said, Greg, this has got to be exaggerated. And he says, I don't think so. He says, read the verbatims that people said. Not in other words, just the numbers, but the verbatims is a national survey. I said, well, yeah, it seems like it. So I went around and I said, I'm going to go talk to 50 people. So I talked
You're
to
gonna
50.
you're gonna validate your own survey.
Not a single person said that that was right. They said it's no way it's 3.5 hours. It's way more than that. I was just in Washington, D.C. with a whole bunch of high-end people, and not one of them said, oh, that's an exaggeration. Nobody says that. So if you know that you're wasting 3.5 hours a day, take your budget, do the math. That's what you're flushing down the toilet. Enough already. It's time to stop the stupid. And the stupid is the time we're wasting because we have broken systems and disengaged workers.
Love it. Wow. Doug, you are not passionate about this at all. I think it's fantastic. It's engaging, it's exciting and refreshing because, you know, like I said earlier, people can't see the forest through the trees because they can only see right here. And if they could just open it up and open their minds up to, there's got to be a better way, right? For everything, always there's a better way. And
And the
that's the
other
way
thing,
we should be looking at our problems.
absolutely. And the challenge is when you're practical and prudent and you're setting your strategic plan or your goals, I will tell you, it's not that our goals are too high. It's that we know what we need to do and we subvert them down to the level of competence we feel our people have,
Mm,
as opposed to stretching them and doing the right thing.
I agree.
And so we've got to, when you have proactive problem solvers, your ability as a leader to think bigger is infinite.
Mm.
Because now you can do, when you started on the job, you thought you were going to do all these things. And now you're just in freaking meetings and you're just losing your mind. There is hope, my friends. I bring you good news. But you've got to get everybody engaged. That's where it starts. It starts from the bottom up, the people close to the work. Their wisdom is amazing.
Yep. This is great. All right, Doug, we can go on for days on this topic. I know for sure. And I'm loving your excitement with it because you're giving me the same excitement too. But where can listeners find out more about you and proactive problem solving?
Well, I mean, this is Eureka Ranch, but the easiest one is DougHall.com. DougHall. If you go to DougHall.com, you get some stuff. You can click on stuff. There's a free, I took the introduction to the book and set it up that you can either read it online or you can download the introduction, which literally lays out, a good introduction really lays out the structure of what we're doing and why. Read that first and see that. And then
if it sparks something in you, then dig deeper and find
get the book and read it, get it for your team, or contact me. As I said, right now, you book it this year, and I will come at half price and spend a day with your team, and we'll sit at night and have a nice cocktail
and drink some bourbon
if you're so inclined. And if not, that's okay too. But
love it. Okay, well, this has been great. And thanks, listeners, for tuning in today. I know that I have, and I hope you have, picked up some valuable insights and actionable ideas that can help your business be more profitable. I know that just innovating and looking at what you're doing, in today's time, even if we're, looking at a simple process of writing an email, there's better ways of doing it now, right? There's ways of speeding it up. And it's the same philosophy in your production, in your sales, and as Doug had mentioned, everywhere in your business, accounting, marketing, sales, production, delivery, customer service, there's always a better way to do things. So I would encourage you to check out Doug's book, check out his program, see how you can start to do that in your business, because I promise you it will affect your bottom line in the positive nature, right? You can do more, you could deliver more, and you can cut expenses and so on. So there's 1,000 different things that can come out of this.
Have more
Exactly.
fun. My friends, life is too short.
It is. I agree.
Let's have some fun.
So as I'd mentioned earlier, it might be time for a fresh perspective. And that's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth for your business. And so if you're ready for that impact, go visit profitbooster.biz. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you.